Here in this poem, it begins with a description of a tiger who is very beautiful and is walking in his little cage. He has beautiful vivid stripes on his body, velvet pads on its feet. But the tiger is not happy. He is very angry because he is being confined in the cage. So the poet says that if the tiger was not confined to the zoo cage, he would have been hiding himself in the long grass near some water body in order to catch its prey, deer. And he would have even terrorized the villagers. Or the residents of the villages around the forest area. But here in this poem, the reality is totally opposite. The tiger is confined in a cage. He's confined in a cage which is made up of strong building material, and he was helpless there because he couldn't move out. He could not show his power, and here he's being described as powerless and agonized by the poet. He even says that during the night, he is alone, hearing the voice of the patrolling vehicles moving here and there. The cage life has totally changed his personality, his life. The poet says that the animal, who is famous for its fearlessness and freedom, is confined and sad due to the human beings who want to derive pleasure by looking at him in the zoo cage. So this is simply the summary of the whole poem. Let's study the paraphrasing of each stanza. First stanza. He walked in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. Here the poet says that the tiger is confined in the zoo. He's moving around his cage under his bright colored skin. He further says that the tiger take only a few steps because the cage is too small to move around, and one cannot hear his footsteps because his footsteps has been his foot has been compared to a velvet. His footstep has been compared to a velvet, and because of this velvet foot, there is no sound of the tiger's footsteps. The tiger tries to control his anger. He's very angry because he's confined in the zoo, inside the cage, and he tries to control his anger by quietly walking inside the cage in the limited area of his cage. Second, he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where the plum deer pass. So the poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass and would be waiting there for his prey, to catch his prey and eat it. But unfortunately, the tiger could not do so because the tiger in the cage is in the cage. Next, he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. Here in the third stanza, the poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have snarled around. Snarl means, like you can see here, makes an angry warning sound. The tiger would have made this snarling sound, would have terrorized people with his sharp tooth and claws. Fangs means tooth, claws, and would have terrorized the villagers, the residents of the villagers, create fear among the villagers with his sound. Next, but he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now, in the fourth stanza, the poet actually comes to the reality of the tiger, that he's not able to move around, he's not able to terrorize villagers, he's not able to show his angerness. Why? Because he is bound to be inside a cage. He's locked in a concrete cell, a very strong cell made up of strong building material. He further says that a tiger is behind bars, so his ferociousness is also behind the bars, and he is not able to show it to the outsiders. He never tries to terrorize the visitors, because his power is actually restricted inside the cage. He's inside the cage, he couldn't do anything, he's not able to do anything at all, so therefore he's not even able to terrorize the visitors, as he cannot even attack them. Last, he hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Here the poet is talking about the night. The tiger is hearing the sound of the patrolling cars from the cage. The cars who moves from here and there. The patrolling cars are the vehicles of the police, which are being used near the zoo to guard at night. So the tiger is able to hear the voice of the patrolling cars from his cage. He then stares at with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. He then stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes. The poet wants to convey through the whole poem that the tiger is sad because he is confined in the cage. He cannot do anything, he cannot show his anger, and therefore he has nothing to do. So what he is doing at night, he's hearing the sound of the patrolling cars, he's staring at the stars in the night and tries to divert his thoughts towards them. So this is the explanation of the whole poem, written by Leslie Norris. So what is the rhyming scheme of the poem? Let's see the last words. Stripes, cage, quiet, rage. A, B, C and B. Why B? Because cage is rhyming with rage. So what is the rhyming scheme of the whole poem is A, B, C, B. A, B, C, B. So this is the rhyming scheme of the whole poem. Let's come to the poetic devices of the poem. Literary devices used in the poem. Personification. Why personification? Because the tiger has been personified as he in the whole poem. The definitions of these literary devices I've already explained to you in the previous poems, Dust of Snow and Fire and Ice. You can go through it. Here you will only be able to see the examples. Okay, so metaphor is a comparison. You can see that the tiger's paws has been compared with velvet, that is pads of velvet. Next is enjambment when the sentence is continued to the next line without any punctuation marks. So here you can see enjambment has also been used. Next is imagery. The poet is trying to create an image about the tiger by using lines. He has written lines like, he stalks in his vivid stripes, lurking in shadow. So after reading these lines, an image has been created in our mind about the tiger. Next is consonants. Use of S sound. You can see here clearly, stalks his stripes. You can see the use of S sound. Next is his fangs, his claws. So again the sound of S. So here we can say consonants has been used. Then next is assonance. Assonance is use of vowel sound. You can see here, in his vivid stripes. Which vowel sound has been used here? The I sound. Okay. Next is onomatopoeia, which means using words which denote sound. So it's here snarling. Snarling has been used to describe the sound of the tiger. Next is alliteration, use of P at the start of two words. You can see here plump, pass, the use of the letter sound P. So this is just the literary devices that have been used in the poem. I hope you would have understand it better. And the definitions of these all literary devices has already been taught in the previous poems. Go through the previous videos if you are having any confusion regarding these literary devices. And you have to write down all these notes, all these description in your notebook, in your first flight notebook. Thank you.